Hey there, I'm Adrienne, transformation coach and your go-to gal for navigating grief and loss. On this show, we're not shying away from tough conversations. Let's talk about how we're really feeling and how to show up in our lives even though so many hard things have happened. Loss and grief are tough topics, but witnessing each other's pain and getting really honest about what we want our lives to look like in our next chapter is the way forward. You're not broken. You deserve happiness. And even though you might not think that's possible, or even feel like your life is over, I'm here to show you that you can feel peace, purpose, and joy again. Let's talk about all things change, loss, and grief, and how to move forward so we can create a life we love. Welcome to the Living with Loss podcast. Hey there, I'm Adrienne. Welcome back to Living with Loss. Today we're talking about emotions and feelings, and more specifically, we're going to talk about finding the feeling you want to experience. When we're going through a challenging time, we'll find ourselves in an energetic or emotional state that we don't necessarily want to be in. It's not uncommon for waves of grief to come over us, to bring us into this lower vibrational state where we're sad, we're anxious, we're afraid. And when we have these feelings, that can get in the way of how we want to show up in our life. I want to have this conversation because when I talk about envisioning your life, stepping into your new identity, essentially that rebuilding and restoration process after loss, a lot of that depends on your willingness and ability to find the feeling that you want to experience, actively create it. And this isn't emotional bypassing. We are not judging our emotions. We're not refusing to feel them. We are doing that, right? We're feeling them. We're allowing ourselves to feel however we feel, but we don't have to stay stuck in the feeling, in the emotion that grief threw on us that day. So through this conversation, we're going to talk about how we relate to our emotions, how we relate to our feelings, what we're experiencing, what we're not experiencing that we would like to experience, and essentially choosing and cultivating the feelings that we want to experience in our lives. And how do we do that? So I want to start off by first saying, oftentimes we identify with being our emotions. We say things like, I'm sad, I'm angry. You're not those things. You're feeling those things. When we start to really identify with that being how we are, it can become difficult to climb out of that feeling. So I just want to start off by saying that you are not your emotions and feelings are not facts. I like to think of emotions and feelings as energy, right? Emotions can be seen as energy in motion. This is helpful to think about because how we're feeling can really drive our actions, our reactions, our behaviors. So if we think about our emotions as energy in motion, what we want to do is we want to be intentional with that energy so we can create the experience that we want to have. In coaching, I will talk to my clients about how circumstances, meaning the things that are happening in the world without any interpretation, just as they are happening, circumstances, they drive our thoughts drive our feelings drive our behaviors drive our results. We could either do thought work to change how we're thinking about the circumstance, which will change the feeling we're experiencing, or we can go into the feeling and work on cultivating the energy that we want to experience. So if you think about emotions, feelings as energy, so you have these higher vibrational emotions, or in simplistic terms, positive emotions, joy, excitement, kind of those upbeat, good feeling emotions. Those are typically associated with higher energy levels. So if you're feeling those good, positive, high vibe emotions, feelings, typically you have more energy. They can invigorate us, they can motivate us, give us power to get into our lives and take the action that we want to take. But if you're in this place where you're experiencing this lower vibe emotional state, or quote unquote negative emotions, might be something like sadness, fear, anger, anxiety, those types of things, those types of feelings deplete our energy. We might feel tired or like we don't want to get out of bed. We're lacking motivation. pinpointing how you're feeling or how you want to feel can be really powerful. If you're able to effectively regulate your emotions, this will help you effectively manage your energy levels. So this is where you want to do techniques where we're not bypassing our emotions, we're not avoiding our feelings, but techniques like mindfulness, deep breathing, movement, those can help us kind of move those emotions through us. So we're not bypassing them, we're not pretending like it's not happening, we're experiencing the feeling and we're moving it through us. Again, this is very helpful because when you can regulate those emotions, you're essentially regulating your energy. I often talk about when you want to envision your life, when you want to go into this rebuilding or restoration process after grief and loss, you want to start by finding the feeling that you want to experience. And so I want to talk about this because there's a lot of power in this. I'm a desire map facilitator for Danielle Laporte, and I've mentioned before that has transitioned into heart-centered content, but it starts with finding the feeling. How do you want to feel in your life? How do you want to feel in the different areas of your life? There's a lot of exercises that you can go through to do this, pretty in-depth process to really determine those feeling states, that energetic embodiment that you want to experience. But I think if you check in with yourself to find the feeling, that could be a very helpful place to start. You might start your day with, what is the primary feeling I want to feel today? How do I want to feel? Energetically, how do I want to show up in my life? And you ask yourself these types of questions and you decide what that looks like. And then you want to be intentional in doing the things that will help you cultivate that feeling. The importance here is when we're going through challenging times, emotions tend to land on us. We're up in our head about what happened, what should have happened, the guilt, the resentment, the frustration, all of it. We're stuck in this place where we're not able to show up how we want to. We don't want to wait for these emotions to land on us. And if they do, that's great. Feel them, but don't stay in them because you are not your emotions. So we want to be purposeful and intentional in choosing and creating the feelings that we wish to experience. Again, you may start by asking yourself, how do I want to feel today? But I said we want to do a check-in. So it doesn't stop there. It doesn't stop with when I wake up in the morning, how do I feel? Because inevitably you're going to go through your day and things are going to happen. You lose sight of that feeling. Or maybe you've done some things to create the feeling you want to feel, but things have happened, you're thrown off course. So you want to check in. Okay, I'm going into work. What's the feeling I want to bring into work today? You want to work to cultivate that feeling. Check in. Am I experiencing it? What's getting in the way of me feeling it? If this difficult thing happens and it pushes me out of feeling the way I want to feel, what am I going to do in that situation? What am I going to do to change my state to find the feeling that I want to feel? As you go through the day, again, you want to check in as you go into new situations, because how you want to feel overall in the day may not be the exact feeling that you want to bring into that situation you're going into. So you're leaving work, you had a feeling state for that, and you're going back home. How do you want to be for your partner, for yourself, for your kids in that different space? What's the feeling I want to bring into this? And you want to find the feeling, and then you want to be deliberate to cultivate it. So I say be deliberate to cultivate it, right? We can find the feeling we want to feel, and then we can create that feeling. And you might be thinking, if it were that easy, I wouldn't be bemoaning getting out of bed because this horrible thing happened. Or I wouldn't be stuck in this cycle of flow energy if I could just change it. So Tony Robbins, he talks about the idea of changing your state. And I went to Unleash the Power Within in 2019. And as you're building up to the fire walk, which he has you walk over hot coals, essentially, as you build up to that, you're doing priming. There's a lot of breathing, there's chanting, there's music, there's all of these things introduced to get you into the state, the emotional, mental, and physical state to be in a place where you can walk across the coals. If you're experiencing feelings or emotions, you've done some emotional regulation techniques, and you're just not quite feeling the way you want to feel, you want to be proactive in changing that. You want to be proactive in creating the feeling that you want to feel. To change your state, there's 3 different ways you can go, and sometimes they can go together or sometimes they're individual, but your physiology, so how you use your body, your focus, what you're paying attention to, or your language, the words and phrases that you're using internally and externally. The way that I find to be the quickest and most effective for me to create the feeling that I want to feel is through my physiology. It's my physical state. So this might be changing my posture. If I have to speak in front of a group of people, if I have a coaching client, right, I want to lean into taking up space and having full posture. I might use my breathing to calm myself down, slow my heart rate down, or I might use movement to lift my spirits. I have playlists from different endurance events. I actually have one from Unleash the Power Within 2019 where I put these playlists on and I dance around, and it will entirely change the way that I feel. I can go from like sad and depressed to moving to this music, and it is like adrenaline or something injected into me where all of a sudden I have so much more energy, a much more positive attitude, and I'm not quite stuck in that funk. So for me, if I want to change how I'm feeling, I will usually gravitate towards the physiological side of things. Typically, I'll gravitate towards movement, whether it's taking a walk, going running, or like I said, dancing to some of those playlists. For me, that really helps just kind of wake the body up. And physical movement, it releases endorphins, which are natural mood lifters. So for me, I find that my go-to techniques in those areas work well and work quickly. If I'm feeling tired as the day's going on, I might stretch. I might step outside for a walk. Just something to kind of put myself in a little bit of a different physical state, and that will help change my mental and emotional state. So if you want to change your focus, right, your focus is what you're choosing to concentrate on. Whatever you're focusing on, that's going to influence how you're feeling. So if you're going through a challenging time and you're focusing on thoughts around those circumstances, or that everything is so hard, or that you miss the person, or you don't have any motivation, you can't get anything done, and you're focusing on what you can't do, or what's keeping you stuck, or you're ruminating on things that happened, you're replaying difficult situations over and over in your mind, you want to consciously redirect your focus to something more positive, more empowering. Maybe you want to start thinking about a past success, a time where you felt really fantastic, really amazing. And maybe you want to visualize that and take yourself back to that and put your focus on that. And then when you come out of it, you'll find that your energetic state throughout your body is quite different than when you started that experience. Or instead of staying in those thoughts of how you're stuck and how things aren't going your way, if you have a future vision or future goal that you're working towards, try and put your focus on that. Something that excites you, something that it's not just the destination that feels good, but it's the journey, the working towards it. So if you put your focus there, it invigorates you, it excites you. And you can also reframe the types of questions that you're asking yourself. Instead of, why am I failing? Why isn't this working out? Why am I so sad? Why don't I have energy? What can I learn from this experience? What am I grateful for right now? Gratitude. Putting your focus on gratitude is one of those things that can shift how you feel in an instant, so quickly, especially if you tie the thing that you're grateful to the feeling that you felt when you're experiencing it. So powerful. And again, visualization. So if you visualize a positive outcome, an enjoyable experience, that can help shift your emotional state. You could feel more energized when you're done with the visualization. The other thing that I had mentioned was changing your language. So that's the words or phrases that you use in your self-talk and your conversations, because the language that you use, it can shape your beliefs, your thoughts, and that inevitably is going to impact your emotions and how you're feeling. So positive affirmations, those can be helpful for some. You could take the negative or difficult I am sort of statement that is going on in your mind and turn it into something that's more anchored in positivity related to your self-image. So instead of nothing is going the way I want it to, or everything is hard, I'm confident and I'm capable. Some people hate positive affirmations. For me, I personally like them. I feel like if I talk to myself in a way like I would a good friend, for me, that is helpful. That can get me out of the negative spiral and turn my energy and my feeling states around. The other thing is the words that you use have an energy to them. So if you're using words that are almost depressive in nature, like I'm exhausted, I'm so tired, how about I need a recharge? Just a simple reframe instead of being stuck in that what's not right, anchoring it in what could be better, or rather than the feeling of being exhausted, needing to recharge, right? It's more positive outcome focused. This is so hard. I can't do this. I feel challenged. Think about it like I'm learning. This is tough, but I'm learning. So it's not getting down on yourself so bad as it is empowering yourself with the words that you're choosing. And that goes right along with reframing. So if you reframe a negative situation into a positive or even a neutral one, that can change your feeling state. So if you're like, this is a disaster, I screwed this up, I can't do this, I failed, this is an opportunity to learn and grow. Reframing the situation, right? We don't need to beat ourselves up. That does not help. It drags us further down into that negative spiral. When we're in a really difficult season of life, we start thinking, I can't handle this. It's too much. What else is going to happen? When's the other shoe going to drop? It's all piling on, and we get stuck in this spiral of how bad things are and how poorly we're handling it. I encourage you to stop yourself there, because wherever you are in your life, whatever situation you're currently in, whatever hard season you're in the middle of, you've handled difficult situations before. Maybe they're not the same flavor of what you're experiencing now, but you've gotten through so much in your life, and it's easy to lose sight of that. We often live in the idea of living in the gap, right? We haven't made it far enough. We haven't reached the goal. We're not far enough along. We're behind. Instead of the gain, if you look backwards for a second, you realize how far you've come. So that's an example of a reframe when you're in the challenge and season. Take a pause and look back at how far you've come, because all of us have had to go through so much to get to where we are right now, and we don't often credit ourselves for getting through those things. So all of this to say that we don't have to just let our feelings and our emotions crash over us and accept whatever shows up that day. And again, we can do some thought work to change how we're thinking about our situation, the circumstances that happened, or we can go right into the feelings and work on changing the feeling states to find the feeling that we want to feel. This isn't always easy to do, but with intention, it's possible. I would encourage you to have some emotional regulation techniques in your toolbox, and different episodes of the podcast, I talk about them. I have posted some different breathing techniques to my YouTube channel. There's just so many ways that you can regulate your nervous system, your emotional state, that will help you function better when you feel like everything is impossible and the world is crashing down on you. Once you get into that regulated state, you're kind of in that neutral state, you can decide how you want to feel. And you can be very deliberate in creating the feeling and then checking in with yourself to see, am I feeling this way? What do I have to do if I want to transition from this feeling to this feeling? And it's in that where you'll see that you can influence your energy levels throughout the day. If you start the day feeling sad, unmotivated, depressed, like you don't want to get out of bed, decide how you want to feel and then do one thing that'll get you closer to that feeling state. The whole idea of a body in motion stays in motion, right? So if you are able to identify how you want to feel and take that one deliberate action to create that feeling, you can build that momentum through the day. And as you're very deliberate to cultivating the feeling that you want to feel, you'll find that you're creating the experience or the life that you want to have. The reality is, every day isn't going to be a 10 out of 10. It's just not. The reality of the human experience is that some days are going to be really hard and some days are going to be really amazing. But we do have a lot of ability to influence the ups and downs. We can't change the circumstances necessarily that create the really difficult, challenging situations. But we can be really intentional with our actions, with our behaviors, with our energy to change how we're feeling as we're going through those things. So I hope that you take some time in the morning and ask yourself, how do I want to feel? And kind of know going into the day, what are some things that I can do to bring that feeling into the situation, into the day? And look at the emotions that you've been experiencing lately. And what areas of your life are you not having the feelings that you want to? Maybe you feel amazing when you're at home with your kids or your partner, but when you go to work, you feel awful. Or maybe it's the other way around. Look at the different areas of life, the different roles that you have in your life, and the feelings that you're experiencing when you're in those situations. Identify what feelings do you want to experience more of, overall and in specific areas. And then you have to be very intentional with changing your physiology, with changing your focus, changing your language in order to change your state. If you're not feeling how you want to feel, focus on one of those three things to change how you're feeling. Because it is possible to energetically create the feelings you want to feel. You can bring the energy that you want to experience into the situation. You don't have to just let everybody else's energy wash over you. Or when you get stuck in downward spirals, you don't have to let that energy control your entire day. You can change how you feel. I hope this has been helpful for you. Thank you so much for listening. And until next time, I hope you have a fantastic week. That's it for today's episode, my friends. Thanks so much for joining me on the Living with Loss podcast. Please like and follow the show so you don't miss an episode. If you're looking for more grief support, grab my free guide, 5 Essential Tools for Immediate Relief from Grief, even if you don't think that's possible. Head on over to adriancrowley.com and download it. Remember, you may not have chosen all the changes or losses in your life, but you get to choose what happens next. New episodes drop every Wednesday. Until then, have a fantastic week.